These are two men who have such a close friendship. Having this in a home for the first time, the president's home, personal home, really underscored that this is something that is here to stay. That we see India as a friend and a partner, not a counterbalance. I think personal is exactly right. These are two men who have such a close friendship. The most pro-American prime minister we've ever seen in Indian history, the most pro-Indian president we've had in U.S. history. And that's building on people who have been very strong before. I think they really are representative of their people and their country and the closeness that we have. Having this in a home for the first time, the president's home, personal home, really underscored that this is something that is here to stay. The Quad is a powerful place to set a vision, to share principles, and to come up with common solutions in the Indo-Pacific. It's a contrast to nations that don't want to play by the rules, that don't believe in the rule of law, but I think it will build solutions. It's about what we can do proactively, and this was a giant step forward.
Right. Now, going by the declaration that we heard and saw, what stood out for you most, according to you? What were the key takeaways of the Quad declaration? And has this solidified the group's cooperation in countering, you say not naming China, but countering China?
No, it's not about any one nation. It's really about these four nations and this common vision that there should be a free, open, prosperous Indo-Pacific. And if you look at the declaration, it really underscores that. From cooperating together on healthcare, as we did with vaccines, and now with the cancer moonshot, whether it's security and making sure our coast guards can act with each other in a way during a humanitarian disaster that can keep our people safe and protected, or whether it's looking at economic development of things like supply chains to make sure no one country can throttle those supply chains in critical minerals, photovoltaic cells. We put $1 billion together between just U.S. and India to find climate solutions when we have almost 900 million people who are climate vulnerable in our two countries. So, of course, other countries will look in, but nobody should feel threatened by the Quad. But the Quad is about standing up for principles that not every country shares. It is about finding solutions to common challenges that not everybody is doing in a multilateral way. And I think it is inspiring the world. The Quad doesn't just work in four countries. We really are looking at the entire region and how we can give something to everyone.
Now, a special space was given to semiconductors during this visit. Talk to us about, how do you see this going forward?
Semiconductors power this interview. Semiconductors power the cars that take us to and from places. Semiconductors are for everything from defense to space to science to climate solutions. And we want to make sure that our leadership in semiconductors between these four incredible countries is maintained. In India specifically, we're committed to helping India increase its production, bring more American companies to invest in India. We see India as a powerhouse of tomorrow. Already in design it is, in packaging it is, but in the production in between, we see a role for India really for the world, not just for the United States, but to make sure nobody can take those semiconductors away, that they're used for peaceful purposes, and that we have technology that will connect and protect us, not divide us and harm us.
Right from its conception of the Quad, it was made clear that the Quad is not a defense partnership. But going by the positioning after the Leaders' Summit, is it safe to say that the Quad is a leading security body in the Indo-Pacific? And is this fast emerging as a major security bloc?
There's no question that security and peace is the most important thing for any country and for all of our people. So whether it's the new announcement on Coast Guard integration and having our crews work together, or whether it's the hub to allow some of our military planes and things like that to be able to interoperate, be fixed in each other's countries, that shows an interoperability to protect our people. But it is not, first and foremost, some sort of military alliance looking to project power. It is looking to preserve peace and to make sure that we have prosperity for our entire planet.
Now, the U.S. relation with China is pretty complex and competitive. How does the U.S. see India fit into the larger picture when it comes to the region, especially when India-China relations are, not at its best? Does Washington see India as a counterbalance to China in the U.S.'s Indo-Pacific policy?
I would say that we see India as a friend and a partner, not a counterbalance. We share the principles about borders and sovereignty, about the rule of law. We've stood with India on the border when there's been conflicts. We've recognized since 1952 the McMahon Line. We have a long history of ensuring that aggression should not be rewarded anywhere in the world. When it comes to China specifically, we all want to have peaceful relations with China. We support India's diplomatic interactions right now, and I think it was announced, that much of the border, about 75% of it, Minister Jaishankar said, has been settled. But nobody should move ahead when their sovereignty is threatened. That is something that we respect and will follow India's lead in India's land. But secondly, when we look at the region, we want to make sure that people have choices, that they don't have debt traps, that they aren't seen as interfering in domestic politics, that people can have democracies, they can have free market economies, they can have a rule of law, which is one respected by everybody. And we offer that while we both, I think we want to calm the waters when it comes to relations with China.
Now, Prime Minister Modi is the only leader probably who has visited Russia and Ukraine, within just a few days of a gap. Already, India is showing keen interest in bringing peace in the region. We've heard Prime Minister Modi say this time and again. Will the U.S. back this initiative?
We welcome everyone's cooperation, participation in peacemaking. Peacemaking is hard work. It requires difficult conversations with friends. I think if you start from the principle that the most important law we have in the world is sovereignty of borders, something India lives with every single day, it's clear that we have to make sure that peace comes not at the expense of any country. So we welcome that participation as long as it abides by those principles of an unwarranted, unasked for invasion of a sovereign country across that sovereign border. The relations that India has had with Ukraine and with Russia, I think, do position Prime Minister Modi, Minister Jaishankar, and others to play a really critical role. And if we keep those principles together, I think we welcome that, because there's going to have to be tough conversations with friends. India opens doors, sometimes the U.S. doesn't, and vice versa. The U.S. opens doors, sometimes India doesn't. I think of our people, of our security, and our economic growth. So I look forward to this coming year. I think it'll continue to soar. And as we have seen two democracies hold two elections, it shows democracies really are stronger, that the rule of law does matter, that principles should rule the day, and that right makes might, not might makes right.